Are we in the golden era of AI?
This is like probably the greatest time in history.
I appreciate that. And from 2016 to 2022, before ChatGPT came out,
What we have now is like 100,000 times better than what that was. If you apply it to the wrong project, you just wasted money. If I didn't pay attention, those hallucinations can cause problems.
one of the main messages was SaaS is dead.
I think the technology can get to the place where 100% replaces white collar workers.
It's unbelievable. At 24 years old, I was let go of my corporate job. By 34, I was financially free with an 8-figure net worth. This podcast is all about taking adversities and turning them into financial success stories. I'm gonna ask for one small favor, and that's for you to click subscribe. Now let's get to the journey. Chris,
Yes.
are we in the golden era of AI?
Ah,
Is it a gold rush?
oh, that's a really good question. It depends on how you look at it, right? Because like when I think about it as the gold rush, yes, but with every gold rush, there was a lot of hype, right? And there's still a massive amount of hype around what AI can and cannot do. But I'm a firm believer that this is like I don't want to say probably the greatest time in history. I actually think that compared to the creation of flight, the creation of the internet, this is the next massive big thing, right? Which I think is going to change the way we do things. Already has changed the way we do things now. Instead of how we look for information, how we interact with technology, it's making those changes now, and we're just getting started. So it's pretty crazy. It's awesome.
And who are you?
Oh, my name is Chris Dore. I'm CEO of ScarlettNova, an AI consultancy, also founder of Rogue Ventures, which is an AI venture studio, and I'm a professor at Algonquin College, and I teach emerging tech for business and business plan applied.
So you know AI.
That I think everybody, anybody that's in consulting or anybody, all say that they know AI. My interest started when I did my master's at the Carleton program, Technology Innovation Management program, where we were starting to do things with AI. My major project was on applied AI at the time, and that's kind of like where my passion lied. Like I was just like, this is awesome. This is something that's going to make a big difference in business and in the world. And I was super excited to be, kind of early on.
What year was that?
I think it was around 2016, 17.
So you've been thinking about this for the last 9 years.
Yeah, for a while. Yeah, it's been a while. Um, I think, I've knock on wood, I read a lot. And I guess from my reading a lot, it allows me to kind of maybe be a little bit ahead of other people, like in terms of technology and in things. Like, I remember I was at the college saying, I did a session on blockchain. I think that was before COVID, right? Like, I always am very curious about technology and new technology. So now, as an do I consider myself an expert? I'd say as expert, you have your median. Am I above that median? Yes, I would say that I'm above the median. But the things with AI change so fast, and I'm more of an expert on the application of AI versus the you know how a model works per se. Right. I can speak to it slightly, but I'm not expert in that aspect of the technical aspects of AI. I'm an expert on the AI adoption and implementation.
I appreciate that. And from 2016 to 2022, before ChatGPT came out, um, was it moving as fast in the back end?
No, we were getting excited about word clouds. Like we basically, I remember doing one assignment in my master's where all we did was we took a corpus of articles, put them together, and then created word clouds on sentiment analysis of what was in those, right? So what we have now is like 100,000 times better than what that was, right? Like, and in 2000, was it 2022, November 30th, when GPT, I'll call him Chatty because I always mess up the GPT part.
Right.
But Chatty came out at that point, and that's really when it became where AI, I think, hit the public, and everybody's aware of it. Everyone talks about it now. It's like, I feel sorry for anyone that's kind of in believed that blockchain was the next big thing, right? Blockchain is almost forgot. Like blockchain, amazing technology, still very good practical applications, but no one talks about blockchain anymore. Very few, anyways. So it's become the I guess the mind of the public is now focused pretty much predominantly on AI.
So it
Good
was
or bad.
a million time exponential from 2021 to 2022 when ChatGPT came out. Like
Yeah, it was massive. Like
it
it's
was
like
massive.
because what we could have done prior COVID, pre-COVID, to now, and even what you've seen from 2022 to now in terms of the applications, yeah, it's just getting better and better, right?
Right.
And that's the whole premise of artificial intelligence. The more it gets trained, the more data, the better it's going to get.
What does that mean? I hear that all the time.
Sure.
ChatGPT releases a model and then it's getting trained.
Mhm.
What the heck is getting trained?
Well, we're training it. So the users, right? So the people that use it, um, that are sharing their data, and sharing their usage, are making it's like any product, right? You release it to your audience, and then you have a feedback loop. So what we're doing is, as we use it, they're collecting data on the usage, and then taking that data to make better products. What is it, 800 million users now on it? Like a lot of data, and a lot of data to make a product, and or numerous products that are going to allow them to create really great applications of their large language model, right?
So let's take an
Yeah.
example. This studio.
Huh.
I write in ChatGPT that this studio, the color scheme is purple.
Okay.
You go on ChatGPT and you say the color scheme is blue. So completely different responses to what the color in the studio is.
Okay.
It goes back to the AI model
Yep.
and it has two completely different responses. So if someone asks
Mm.
now, a third person comes in, a
Yeah.
third
Yeah.
guest comes in and says, "Hey, I'm just curious. I'm going on the studio
Uh,
on this podcast with this person, and I don't know what to wear.
yeah.
What color scheme is in the studio?"
Yeah.
So I'm training the AI model to think one way. You're training the AI model to think another
Yeah.
way. The response to the third party might be completely wrong.
That's right. But you're also assuming that there's, you know, you're assuming intelligence in a sense, right? That and this is where I think a lot of people kind of have misconstrued, I guess, image or thoughts about what AI is, right? Because what we're seeing with these large language models are mathematical equations that have known answers, and they pick the next best word, right? So, when you think about, uh, you know, uh, general intelligence, when AI is just as smart as has this intelligence and becomes sentient, like the current system that we're seeing and what's in these large language models, that's not going to do it, right? Because it's really just this awesome math equation that picks the next best word. Now, when to your point about the studio, and they say purple or yellow, right? Um, if you had more people saying it was yellow, and you have a few people saying it's purple, the model should actually say, yeah, it's yellow, right? Or vice versa, whichever one that has a majority of responses for, right? Where I see some technology these days, and some of the key researchers, they're trying to create what they call a worldview now, where they're using video, they're using um, visual learning to train models. So they would say, yes, this is not purple, this is not yellow, it's black, right? And so I think we're going to see a lot of models start to be trained on videos and context, because right now there's no context within the large language model. It's just basically choosing what the model believes is the next best word, right? So with video, and with the meta glasses and all these things, the massive amount of video will probably create more of a worldview and provide context, because the large language model now doesn't know what fire is, right? Like, but through video and seeing people react and seeing people ow ow ow, like just like a baby, you will be able to potentially teach it that fire is bad, fire burns, fire can hurt, right? And that's through video. Right now, those large language models, no context. Like they don't know fire if burns or fire can do what.
And when these models get issued to the
Yeah.
public and there's 800 million people on it,
Yep.
they get a lot more responses so that they train their model faster for the next iteration.
Yeah, they can do that. Like I'm not an expert in terms of what OpenAI does, right? Like I consider I'm very knowledgeable in what the application of what they're doing. Um, what I assume they're doing is they're taking that information and every model has a date where they train on all the information. That's why, for example, it's not great. Like if you were just to use the model alone and you ask it what happened today, it may not be trained
Mm.
on today, right? Now, what they have done is that they allow you to click most of the large language models. You click on a button that says use web. So it will search the current day web.
Right.
So that's how it kind of offsets and can give you up to date, very current information by clicking the different buttons, right?
So today's November 18th.
Yep.
Do you fully trust, or what percentage out of 100 do you trust these models when you ask for a question?
Ooh, that's a really good question. What percentage do I? I'm skeptical, so I don't trust anything. Like, and I'm very wary about everything. So it's not just large language models, and that's why that concept of human in the loop is so important. I remember I was at a conference and they wanted a bio, so I did a quick bio via chat GPT, and it misconstrued some information, right? Now, if I wasn't paying attention and I sent that, I would have been like, there'd been a lot of egg on my face because it said I had a PhD. I don't have a PhD, right? In academic circles, saying you have a PhD when you don't, that's a no-no. And also on the other side of it too, it said that although I do practice Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I am not a black belt. And it also said that in my profile. And I was just like, yeah, those are the things. If I didn't pay attention, those hallucinations can cause problems. That being said, the models are getting better and better, and once you provide context into these models and say, "Hey, be critical, use, put up these boundaries with your answers, and your prompts are well designed," it should help. Right. It also depends on where the data is coming from. Right. If you're using a large language model or you're using internal company data, it should lessen the hallucination if it's actually drawing upon hard coded data, right? That data that's in an Excel file or something. Generally, it should just pull, but you always have to be wary, right? That's why expertise is still going to matter, right? No matter what. Like, but the other side of it too is that we are in 2022. We're in 2020, soon to be 2026. It's just going to get better, right? Like, so for example, now I remember when I first started using it to do marketing for LinkedIn, right? Or for blog content. I would do it, 2022, have to fix it up a lot, right? Now, because I trained it on past writing, I've trained it on my past posts, it probably gets to 95%. I used to say 80-20, but it wasn't 80-20 at the start. Probably about a year ago, it was 80-20. It's probably now 95%. And when I think blog writing, low hanging fruit, right? And that's why we see, so much AI slop out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I feel like LinkedIn is going to get hit hard with AI because video's not there yet. And I feel like my feed is just so typical now. It's unbelievable. It's the same writing, same style,
yeah.
same everything. Where the other algorithms at least are more authentic and more video concentrated so that it's harder to manipulate from an AI perspective. But going back to the trust factor.
Sure. Yep.
If you're using these algorithms, is it I'll say for me, I'm probably at a 50-50 split where I trust it 50% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give a hard example is I'm on the social media journey and I did a tax tip that went viral.
Okay.
Leveraged ChatGPT for the tax scenario. And then once I posted it and it went viral, I was like, oh, damn, it's wrong.
Oh no.
Because it
Yeah.
was so freaking convincing.
Hmm.
But then I didn't do the math on it. And I kind of took the lazy way out a little bit.
Hmm.
I took it down. But it was just like, these models are getting so good at convincing you that the response is good that I was probably at 80% a year ago, and now I've dropped it even more, even though the models are getting better, because those nuances make such a big change.
I'd warn against trusting, like, it's great. It's a tool, right? Like, so, and it can get you, depending upon what you're putting out and what you're creating, right? There's different levels of trust, right? If it had to do something with financial data and I'm making a big decision, I'd want to know, I want to go deeper and see where they're getting the numbers from and where it's pulling from. A marketing blog, not so much, right? Because there's no, like, the risk, right? Like, now, tax advice, there's much more risk, right? Versus a blog, that about, what I ate for lunch, right? Like, or something like that. So I think I genuinely tell people, be cautious, always have human in the loop. You can ask the models to verify itself, like, and keep asking. Sometimes it will just give you what you want to hear, and that's an issue that the large language models are, the companies are working on, because it's kind of building your own echo chamber, right? Like,
Mhm.
you're great, this is great, this is great, right? Well, that doesn't benefit you, right? So so I often everything starts usually when I start using generative AI with a really good prompt. And when I say prompt, there's people that just write in that one sentence. My prompts tend to be a page, 2 pages long.
And where do you get your prompts?
So, it's kind of meta. I created an agent to create prompts for me.
Hmm.
So what I do, and in Chat GDP, if you're using that, you could just basically create a GPT, um, and create what I call a universal prompt enhancer. Right, like, that's what I call mine. Fancy name, but anyways, and I start there all the time. That's the first step of anything I do. Um,
So give me an example of a 1.5 page prompt. Like the
so
blog post, would that be a prompt that's a page and a half?
No, not for that purpose, because I've already trained, like, I already have, when it comes to blog posts and such, I already have kind of like a trained model on on how I write and what I want to see in the post. But for example, even the universal prompt enhancer, right? Like, so, um, large language models really do well with, like, sparse, like kind of like subject headers, right? And bullet points and clear direction, right? So, for example, if I was like, hey, there's a persona I joke about, um, and and I call him one prompt Dave, right?
Okay.
And one prompt Dave's that guy that sits in the office and is like, and he's like, oh, I got to do this. Okay, so he goes into a large language model, create me a marketing plan, right? And next thing you know, he has a marketing plan, generic, it's crap, it's just like, he'll it's not great. What I would suggest for that guy to do, we can create Super Dave, is if he creates a universal prompt enhancer, he pumps in that same prompt and says, hey, um, create me a marketing plan. What it does is the prompt enhancer, based upon, the the large language models, education pieces where they say how to build a prompt. Well, it then will create a prompt that follows the rules of what those large language models want in terms of what a good prompt is, right? So it's always funny because I laugh at when I see people are taking, like, prompt engineering courses, right? Or, like, paying for that. I'm like, you're already behind, right? Like, all you need is one simple prompt enhancer that's well built, which basically is 2 pages in terms of instructions, that will create these 1 to 2 page prompts, right? With a lot more detail. Once you get the detail, though, you still have to go through it and make sure that it applies and it's hitting all the things that you want. It's just a much more detailed prompt that's going to get you better answers, allows you to fine tune it so it stays within the parameters. Like it's just better, and by doing so, often helps with preventing hallucinations. Also prevents it going off on the rails, which rarely ever does now. But it allows a much better response, right?
So you've created this and it's just a GPT?
Yeah, like
Okay.
it's like kind of it's meta. It's a prompt within a prompt, right? Like, and then the prompt gives you a better prompt. And so don't pay for prompt engineering courses. Like, don't.
So create the GPT, and then if you need a marketing plan, you would say create a marketing plan.
Just create, like, even if you say create a marketing plan, a little bit of context, like maybe 2 or 3 more pages, click button. It'll provide you a robust prompt that you can then use in a project or in another chat, right?
So then you open up another chat and said, okay,
Yeah.
use this
Yeah.
prompt, and now start building a project
Yeah.
around
Based upon that. Yeah. Much better. Like,
and you do that
context.
religiously, like every day, like is
Yeah,
you're
I'm in, like, I'm I take an AI first approach to everything, right? Like, sometimes, like, of course I'm using my brain. I'm like, okay, well, what do I have to do today, right? But even then, I have an agent that actually sends me things what they think. I have an agent that sends me things that says, this is what I think you should do today, Chris, right?
so that's prompting. What's an agent?
So an agent, so there's a, it's funny because I actually just wrote a piece on what automation and an agent is, because people confuse the two,
Mm.
right? Automation is like a very simple action where it's like, I'm going to move this from A to B, right? It's kind of like, a robot with a hammer that does just one thing and doesn't really do anything else, right? An agent has a decision making element to it, right? It may be able to take, instead of like um, taking one piece of information and putting it to B, it can decide, oh no, I need this piece of information, I need this piece of information, I need this piece of information, and then bring it back to wherever you use it, right? So some simple agents that I use now is um, I have, before any meeting, about 10 to 15 minutes, I have it programmed. So it will, whoever I'm meeting, it will send me the LinkedIn profile and any notes from my emails and from files about that person, like before the meeting.
So
Right?
just summarize it so you have some
Yeah.
context before
It pulls, right? So it pulls from LinkedIn. So it takes one piece of information from LinkedIn, looks into my emails, pulls from my emails, any of the latest discussions, and that's a simple one.
And what software are you using for that?
Uh, I'm a big, I've fallen down. I don't get paid by Google. I wish I did get paid by Google, but I use all the large language models, but Google Enterprise is the one that I use for my own company, and I often recommend it for others because they have when you go through Google Workspace, it's integrating, like they have done a really good job with everything that you do, layering that AI and making it simple,
Yeah,
right?
because
Simplicity is key.
I was thinking about Gmail, right?
Yep.
So you're obviously using the G Suite platform.
Yep.
Within the security of it, because it's Google, it's all under one hood versus a third party.
Yeah. And so they
you trust it,
provide
yeah.
enterprise
Okay.
security. You trust, like,
Yeah.
you got to trust something, right?
Yeah. And you can create agents within the enterprise.
Oh yeah, easy, super easy.
And
Like,
what's the fee for enterprise?
oh, that's a good question. I think it's, to be honest, I think it's 50 per user, around
Okay.
$50.
Okay.
Like,
So not significant. Like
no, and the crazy part is all these AI tools that are out there um, are cost effective.
Right.
So small, medium enterprises, whatever size you are, like, it might get, like, if you have 20 people and at 50, like, then it adds up monthly, right? But it's pretty crazy that the level of the technology that's at our fingertips for like $50 a month, right? Like, it's crazy.
So do you get it to send emails too?
Uh, oh, I've That's funny because like I don't want to say it because then people know it's not me. The first draft of every email is done by an agent. Yeah,
And then you just
I
verify,
proofread it,
send it
and
out.
it does, and I'm fine tuning it to my tone,
Right.
and I'm fine tuning it.
To your
But
personality.
it saves a ton of time. Like you still have
Yeah.
to read it, right? But you're not writing it anymore.
Yeah, because
Like
I hate email.
like I can set you up, man. It's
Yeah.
easy. It's pretty easy because it will literally, when you have to sit there and you're like, okay, then I'm going to type out like takes you 10, 15 minutes, 30 seconds. It's already there. Like I have it so that every email that comes in, automatically a draft is created.
And
Now
then
it's,
you just go into your drafts and click send.
yeah, like you approve it and then send. Yeah.
And I guess now converting it to business, this is a perfect use case for business owners.
It seems like a small thing, right?
Yeah.
And it is relatively small.
But it could be a half an hour a day.
But you accumulate these,
Yeah.
all these small things, right? And I was just having a conversation with somebody too about it was about private equity and about selling businesses, right? Now, if I'm an owner and I'm getting close to selling,
Yeah.
I'm going to AIfy my business because like you're going to get a bigger premium.
Yeah.
Like if you bring your business up to current technology standards,
Yeah.
private equity is going to love it. Owners are going to love it
Yeah.
because the thing with AI is that you have to know your processes really well. And what are you really buying when you sell a company? You're buying processes plus customers plus relationships plus knowledge, right? And AI is really good at systemizing the knowledge and also efficiencies, right? Like and also revenue generation. Like
Well, and I know you're not potentially an expert in private equity, but the conversation that you're having, are they seeing a 2x multiple? Are they seeing like what are they seeing? Because this is really good
this
for
is the same question that was asked to me.
because this is really good.
Researching. Sorry.
This is really good for business owners
Yeah.
to understand the potential value that they can create in their firm. And I'll give a personal example. When I ran my accounting company for 10 years, one of the biggest advantages I had was I wasn't an accountant. So I wasn't in the nitty gritty of the firm.
Right.
When I wanted to sell, it was a lot less risky for a business owner to buy me because I had CPAs around me. I had tax professionals around. I set up the business where it wasn't me.
Yep.
Now that dictates a multiple. Now, if you're saying that AI could be that formulation where now it de-risks the business owner even more to buy you because now you're not worried about employees leaving. You have the algorithms and everything in place. Now you can, instead of create it yourself, you like, let's say you're a business owner and you don't want to create it, you buy it, you take your systems and processes and you put it in already a bought system. Now think about the multiple based on that because now you're taking your business and scaling it, and then the risk to buying that business is very low.
Yep.
So huge, just on that aspect, if you're a business owner, is huge.
Yep.
Forget about the fear. We talked about a little bit of fear monitoring of not being a part of AI. It's just even if you want the maximum value of your firm, that's the way. And after speaking with individuals in that industry, are they seeing a lot? They must be seeing a lot higher values depending on the industry, obviously.
It's funny because after I just had this conversation yesterday with a person, so I did a little bit of research after that conversation, and I'm still doing research, but you kind of answered the you kind of right? Like it's like I'll do the research and there'll be some proof, but it just makes sense, right? Like common sense is that, hey, if we can do things efficiently, cost effective, if we can, keep the processes and the internal knowledge internal and with the company, and we have the ability to potentially jack up revenue, like that's a better company, right? Like it, and you can capture a lot of that. You remember that, like, what if employee A leaves, right? It's going to not to say that that employee A is still not very important, very much is. But if you do a good job of capturing what that person does, and his knowledge via AI, which is very doable, reduce the risk, right? It's a risk reduction for everybody. So will it give you a premium? Yeah, it should. Like there's now how much that premium is, I don't know. Like I'm not a private equity or a business broker or anything like that in terms of, but it just makes a ton of sense to for now. Is that for now? Yes, because for now, probably in the next probably 10 years, I think you'll get that multiple. But when you have the danger is that when you have these
Everyone.
startups that are like starting from scratch and embedding this stuff from the get-go, it's going to like those are the companies that would be like, forget these old ones, legacy ones. I shouldn't say that because there's a lot of value there because they have the relationships, they have the expertise, and not. I think the startups are the ones that I think it's pretty exciting because what you can do now is, and if you have a startup of any type, even a donut making store, like you got to start thinking like AI and how that is going to play a part in your business from the get go. Because when you start to think of it from the get go, that's transformative versus a layered on approach, right? And 95% of small businesses in Canada are small medium enterprises, and those current existing businesses are probably going to do the layer on approach because the cost of transformation too high, right? You're basically going to say let's reinvent the company, right? Now, is it necessary? I actually think yes, because a lot of the companies will end up like Blockbuster, right? There's a concept of that I'm exploring is, how do you like? I think every company should be thinking about how do I put myself out of business? Like at this point in time, that's a question that you should be asking yourself. If I was not here and I was out there looking at my business, how would I put that company out of business? I think that is a very important viewpoint and perspective because the ability to put you out of business is ramping up, right? Like with AI and the tools and like the I guess the ability to put you out of business because of AI, it's there. It just takes somebody to execute. Now, that's another story about entrepreneurship because I still think that you can have all the tools in the world, but entrepreneurs are a different breed. I still believe that. I think that, uh, especially in Ottawa, you have risk takers and you don't have risk takers. So even if you have the best idea in the world, very few people have the ability to really execute.
100%.
So
I see it all the time. I see so many amazing ideas, but I'm like, go freaking do it.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah,
go
yeah,
do it. Go make the money, right?
yep,
Um, so let's say I'm a startup.
yep,
I do appreciate you saying, because I think that's I love small businesses. They're the backbone of our economy. I can't speak highly enough of a small business owner.
hmm
A lot of them are technicians. A lot of them are so busy right now, they can't even think about a transformational,
yeah,
idea. And like we said with Chatty,
yeah,
in 2022 till now,
yeah.
the trend, like if you're not even ahead of it, you're gonna be a dinosaur so fast, it's gonna make your head spin.
I believe so.
Um, so I'm gonna put in three different questions.
Sure.
The business that are in the legacy businesses
Mhm.
now, which I would argue anyone that hasn't implemented any AI is a legacy business now, potentially.
Yep. Sure.
Startups
hmm
that are AI driven, and then future startups in 3-4 years start up. Will the middle people that are starting today be dinosaurs to 3-4 years of new technology that comes out, and could they convert? Like, if I was starting a business now, it'd be like, okay, well, I'm not a legacy business. I'm starting on the new tech, going all in on it. Or even these dinosaur companies or legacy businesses, I don't even want to call them dinosaurs,
Sure.
transforming into this new AI that will eventually transform.
To something else. I think so in that scenario, the existing companies are going to have the hardest that's going to be the hardest for them to change and pivot. Even now, like a lot of them are floundering and like, I know I need the AI, but how do I do it? The internal expertise isn't there. There's a ton of things. Startups now, or any businesses that starts with AI now, um, I still think would be in better shape than these legacy, like, or these older companies, just because if they're starting with a tech kind of focus in the application of AI, they're likely, hopefully, going to be smart enough to, you know, ride the wave of any new technology, right? It'll be easier because they already will have their data structure set up. They'll be using AI.
They'll have the foundation.
So yeah, the foundation there. So it's kind of like, you know, farmers to manufacturers, right? Like you had farmers, and now you have a manufacturer that has an assembly line, and then maybe there's a new machine. So it's probably more like that versus the legacy people are more like farmers. Right. Now, those farmers can be like, okay, well, I can buy a tractor now, right? And so they use the tractor on the farm. And that's okay. And for now, that's suitable because getting the tools and applying the tools is going to have some impact. Right. One thing that drives me crazy, and it was MIT that did a report that said 95% or something around that very high percentage of pilots fail. I don't see that. Like, I don't know what they're doing. Like, I read the report, and I like, my experience is that most pilots are successful. So, and it could just be that they're just focused on large enterprises. But if you are strategic about it, and you're not just grabbing tools for the sake of grabbing tools, you actually sit down, where am I at? Which I call, where you use your AI assessment. You know, where are we going? Which is the roadmap. Then you apply, right? And you really have to be smart about where you apply, because if you apply it to the wrong project, you just wasted money, right? So that's why, you know, I think I have a business, is the fact that we help people do these things in a strategic manner rather than being like, hey, grab this, grab this, grab that, right? I've seen companies with all five.
So are you doing these legacy businesses? Is that your primary business?
Well, 95 most businesses in Canada are these small medium enterprises, right? So, and I'm passionate about helping them, because like some of them are great businesses. That can just be greater.
And an example, so you go in, you do an assessment. Talk about that assessment.
So that assessment, you know, it's funny because you can go online and you can get like these the clickbait type assessments where it's like you answer 10 questions. Next thing you know, you're getting bombarded by phone calls and such. Assessment should be based. The first thing we do is we talk to the owner or the CEO or whoever, one of the main people, and we have a good conversation with them. Through that conversation, we come up with a bunch of questions that are specific to the company. That covers data, covers data governance, covers the people that are, and other issues that are within the company, or a couple other areas. Then it's a pretty robust survey, and we do interviews, right? So we interview some of the main people within the processes that have kind of been identified. We also do, you know, not a 5-question survey. It's a robust survey that's built specifically for the organization. And then from there, we bring in a team to do a workshop. So we do the workshop, which was where they spend time learning a little bit about AI, because that's one of the things that I found is that the education piece, some people just don't know what it can do and what it can't do. So we bring that piece in. Next, we talk about one of the activities I implement in my workshops is, you know, how do you, like, if you were outside your business, how would you put your business out of business, right? Like we do a little session on that. Then we go into priority setting in terms of, you know, what items and problems do we want to handle first and handle with AI, right? So on that one, it's just basically a quadrant, and you're basically looking at feasibility and benefit, right? Which one is going to be the most feasible and most beneficial? Now, there's some that are in the low-hanging fruit ones, which are easy and executable, and then there's bigger ones, big dream goals of you know, having, you know, let's say a robot doing something, right? Like a little robot. And from there, we kind of then say, okay, well, we look at all those and say, okay, well, which first three, and the first three are not always the biggest, right? Because the biggest, you don't want to, when you're trying to adopt AI, you want small, quick wins, because those small, quick wins build confidence. You see how it works. Oh, it does work. Okay, great. And then, then you can with building that confidence and that knowledge, you kind of pick bigger. I don't even want to call them pilots anymore, but
Bigger projects.
projects in regards to actually, adopting these within your company. Because there isn't a process there isn't a process in my mind that you can't layer on AI or use AI in some way, right? Like, so, so do most of these companies have resources to flip and say AI everything? Probably not. So they have to be really strategic about which ones they pick.
Right.
And
So
it's an ongoing process. Like you could be, you know, like a year to maybe even 3 years of, transitioning some of these processes and like a lot of companies still don't even have an enterprise version. A lot of companies are still using like GPT on the side of their desk with free versions. And that scares the crap out of me because you're trading usage for data. So what are you putting in there, right? Like, anyways.
So, on average, what's the top 3 priorities or that people is email one?
Mm,
Is
nah, like I think there's some commonality and some of that, like one of the things that what I like my company we focus on is kind of creating that internal brain, because you have the large language model, which is kind of like your external brain that has, a knowledge of almost everything. But the internal brain is probably more useful to you, right? Because that is all your financial statements, it's all your marketing, it's all your customer notes, right? And being able to create that brain, powerful, because then you have your company knowledge at your fingertips, right? So that's one thing. So and I think every company needs to do that.
and that's leveraging a external brain. Like
Well, no. So what you have your external. So basically,
like ChatGPT.
yeah.
Okay.
So external would be like the large language model.
Right.
Now, depending upon your company, you either want to if you have an enterprise version and you trust Microsoft, you trust Google, it's actually much easier to do. But if you don't and you want to create your own, then there's processes that you need, like
Okay, so let's
egg system, which is basically
a lot of people are on G Suites right now. So
sure. Yep.
so let's say Google's enterprise
Yep. So if you have Google Enterprise, it's really easy. Like, is everything in Drive? If everything's in Drive, you're pretty much almost there.
to create that internal mind.
Yeah.
So you help them create that
Yeah. And train them on how to use it. Yeah.
and train them how to use it. Because there's a huge education piece of how to train it.
Yeah. Because you'll have one prompt Dave, right?
Right.
You'll have that guy and that trusts everything that comes out. And no, you shouldn't trust everything that comes out. And you should be asking it questions, and you should be gearing, agents to the jobs to be done, right? Like one of the things that we've done is we sat down where there was a company it was about 15 people, and they decided, because I'm agnostic to the platform, I just want them to use AI. I have preferences, and I'll tell them what my preferences are. But they ended up going with enterprise chat GPT. And so what we ended up doing, we sat down with every one of them and started build out GPTs for their jobs, right? Like 3 or 4 each. So that based upon what they do in a day, they now can do it faster, right? Like quicker, like easier.
Genius.
I think it is. I think you need to start thinking, use
Because
it.
instead of you for years, I was always, oh, we're getting too busy. Hire another employee.
No, that's another can of worms, because I worry about that, especially because I'm a professor and students, they're going to the workforce.
What's your recommendation for them?
Learn AI, learn the tools, because you have a 60-year-old business owner that won't want to learn them, can't learn them. You can come in and be valuable from the get-go.
Yeah. Valuable to work there or valuable to replace them?
No, valuable to work there. Like,
If they're ready to adopt change. Because I
um,
feel like change
yeah,
management, like my dad,
but
he's
sure,
been in the industry for years. If I went to him and said, hey, use this tool, he would say no.
that's right. So you bring in somebody that's fresh out of college or university that has probably been using that tool to write their reports for the last 4 years. And now you're hiring them to do a specific task that they can do. I always relate to blog writing because it's low hanging fruit. So let's say I'm writing social media posts, right? So this person, let's say 3 years ago, it would take, I don't know, an hour or two to write a blog post, right? Like, let's say, because you're not using AI. Now, somebody that's proficient in AI can, likely do, well, I don't know, 40 blog posts in a day if they really wanted to. And even if you wanted to, that what you could do is even within minutes do 40 blog posts, right? Like, so you might not, so you might have this, so different stages here, right? You might have that one person, okay, I'm going to do blog posts, or so and then you can create an agent or that person can then work with an agent, be the human in the loop, that where you have 40, 50 blog posts, your whole year done, like in 5 minutes. Like, it's like,
It's crazy.
it is, but it's awesome. Now the other side of it too is like, yeah, I worry about students. I think if they don't start learning the tools, um, you know, the we don't have robots that can get coffee yet, right? And I don't want students just to be that person,
Yeah.
right? Like, so if they learn the tools, they can, like, I believe students that learn tools and use them really proficiently now are very valuable to companies, right? Because they can walk in and say, oh, that's the process you're doing now. Okay, well, let's make it more efficient.
Right.
Or you're doing that to generate revenue. Let's put it on steroids, because AI is kind of like steroids to me, where it's like you can take a process or do something, but 10 times, 100 times it, right? Like, I was talking with a company a couple of days ago. They're an AI agent company, so they build agents. And they send out something like a couple thousand emails a day, like via the agent, right?
To attract clients.
Yeah, and the response rate's pretty high compared to the average, right?
And I do feel like there's a window.
Yes, yes. Because what I'd be thinking is that if you're thinking about a business, you need to build blockers for these things, right?
Yeah.
Because everyone's going to be inundated with
Yeah.
crap. Like, now, the other side of it too is, though, AI allows you to personalize things. So, for example, I know a company that when they have a lead, right, the lead comes in, AI generates a personalized report for them on the services and what that company can do for them, and then sends it automatically, right? So that's efficiency, right? And it's also value. Like, is there value in that report? Probably. And so lead comes in, reports personalized, created, and then sent out. That being said, still need the human in the loop, because I've been receiving some crap lately where I got an email and it left in the oh, what is it, the where my name was supposed to be, where the company was supposed to be. Like, it didn't fill it out, and they still sent it. So I don't know sent who. If they sent it to a bunch of people, it's like name, organization, and then you should buy this because of this. And the personalization didn't take effect, and so you still need that human. There's that story about I think it was the accounting. It was I always mess this up, and it was one of the big accounting firms. I think KPMG, Deloitte, somebody like that in Australia. Did you hear this story?
No.
Junior level person created a report, charged 400,000 for it, and then didn't personalize it, and so the reader could look at it and said, "What? This is crap," and it was clearly AI generated. There's a lot of pushback on that. There's issues, right?
And you talk about the human.
Yeah.
I know you don't have a crystal ball, but and before the conversation, before we started shooting, we talked about, there's law firms out there, and I actually just saw an accounting platform that just raised $20 million to do bookkeeping. A typical accounting bookkeeping firm could probably do 20 to 40 small businesses. They're saying that they could do 300 small businesses. So the multiple is, I mean, 30x, right? Today, to in 6 months, it might be 60x and then go from there. And then it might be at the ability where these agents get so good where they could really even replace that bookkeeper or paralegal or junior level person and then, move up the ranks there.
If you are if everything you do is digital, um, yeah, I'd say like there's a point where if you are 100% digital, in my head, yeah, it's possible that you can have agents do it
So
and do it better and faster.
the people out there on the news saying AI is going to replace white collar workers and all of that, is there truth to that?
Oh, geez, that's like big questions, and that was one like I don't have a crystal ball.
Yeah.
Do I think the technology can get to the place re- where 100% replaces white collar workers? I could. There are things that I think I could cobble together today, like from different tools and different things that would very that could yeah could take away some of those jobs. Uh, Rogue Ventures is actually the whole purpose of that is to explore that.
And what is Rogue Ventures?
Rogue Ventures is a startup studio where we are looking at um, using AI as the foundation to disrupt other, traditional, um, you know, companies and industries that are going to have a hard time with the adjustment, right? And they may not adjust. And so it's kind of like we're building, a company that hopefully will build some Netflixes. Netflixes? I don't know
So
if that's a,
so you have two arms of business, one transferring the legacy businesses to AI or improving it,
Mhm.
and another one, if someone has an idea, an AI or idea, you help them
Yeah,
AFI it,
it's like a factory for ideas. Yeah. But,
factory for
but
ideas.
everything is AI. Like we use a lot of AI for every single step of the process. And we also, yeah, so it reduces our employee count. So it doesn't have to, we can do things with a lot less people. And yeah, the premise is disruption and creating things that will, you know, uh, hopefully change industries. Like we're in the early stages, right? We're like officially we officially launch, in December, but I'm willing to talk about now because we're making steps to launch. So
So how do you have any businesses in there?
yeah, we have a couple. There's two, but the goal is to 2 to 3 companies a year. Right. And then once we fine tune our processes, we imagine that we can probably do maybe 3 to 6.
And are you backing them financially too?
We're doing a bit of the internal, like, so there's two ways. There's external ideas and internal ideas. Our internal ideas both ideas will go through a screening process. And the first step is validation, where we actually will try to get customers before the actual creation of the product, right? Now, because of AI and vibe coding everything, and we have a team there that can get things up and running and get something out there fairly quickly, right? And then we have a go-to-market team. So that being said, I think yes, we do. One is, there's a couple like I don't. It's just too early to talk about them, to be
Right.
honest. And I like, and also it's not just me involved, so I wouldn't want to be.
Well, I do think it's a great idea
Yeah.
because I think Canadian entrepreneurships, if you have an idea, but you don't know where to start, you can, you know,
Yep.
talk to yourself and your team to take that idea to the next level.
Yeah.
And if a lot of people aren't starting,
Yeah.
even if you throw something at the wall and it sticks 10%, that 10% could be a huge market to make a lot of money.
Also within venture studios is economies of scale, right? Expertise is learned and kept within the organization. So each company that comes in benefits from that knowledge,
Hmm.
right? So the key is on the entry. The idea is that we have to make sure that the processes. It's like we don't want to be all over the place, right? So we want within the internal processes to be beneficial to every single company that comes in,
Yeah.
right? So
That makes a lot
so
of
there's the
sense.
economies of scale, right?
And then is it a consulting business? Is that what it's defined, an AI consulting business?
No, ScarlettNova is more of an AI consulting business.
Right. Yes, that's what.
Than the Rogue Ventures. Rogue
Right.
Ventures is a venture
Right.
studio where we're actually launching companies.
Right. But the Scarlett Studio, Scarlett
ScarlettNova,
is an AI consultant for your business.
yeah. So ScarlettNova is the company, my company, that we help companies with education, training, and adoption of AI.
Okay. And what would be a fee? Let's say I'm a small business owner and
Yep.
I want to up level myself
hmm
to the new way of doing things. I know there could be a large range of fee, but just to get to that 3 small problems that you're solving to get a few wins in my business. A to Z, $1 million firm, $1 million small business, 15 employees.
That's a good question. There's a lot of factors, but let's say I'll just median like the average, right? You're probably looking around anywhere from 7,500 to 15,000 in regards to the assessment roadmap and workshop. Like, and then from there, the pilots that you pick, depending upon the nature of the pilot and the technical, I guess the technical side of those projects, those get priced out and depending now, some like low level automations, lower cost, right? Um, you know, so it really depends on what pilots and what you decide that you're going to bring into the company, right? And that can range from anywhere from 10 to 50 to 100,000, right? Like, so that's now it also depends on how many people, like in regards to that training aspect, right? So if you bring in, let's say, Gemini Enterprise, and you're like, okay, we need people trained on this, and you have 100 people, right? So we would price it out according to how much training that is, right?
Right.
So
And I could see that being overwhelming to a lot of small business owners because it's like
yeah.
a future ROI. So you got to really embrace an AI to really understand what the potential could be.
Well, you should always think about, there's a couple things, exits, like how you're going to exit your business. So if you're thinking, yeah, at some point I want to sell this thing, then I would say that it probably it's a wise decision, right?
Right.
Like I don't have the stats yet, but I'm, as I said, I'm doing research on that because I'd love to have stats to like pull out and say, yeah, you do this when you want to sell your business and it's all set. Your business brokers, private equity, they're all going to love your business much more, and you'll get 2-3 times more, 4
Right.
times more. That'll pay for itself. But just on the ease, like, so there's different ways to look at this. Everyone, when I think about artificial intelligence, most people think efficiencies and cost reduction. That's true, but there's also an aspect of revenue generation and better decision making, right? Like, so if I'm an organization, you should be considering both, right? Like, make money, reduce costs.
Right.
That's business, right? Like, that's an efficient business. If you can do both and do it well, you're going to do well.
Love it.
Generally. So I'd say, like, don't forget this piece, because almost everyone's like, okay, yeah, I don't have to hire that junior person to write blogs anymore or whatever, right? But no, right? That's just one piece of it, right? And a lot of the companies I worked with, they're not trying to replace people. They're basically just trying to give better tools to people so that they can be more efficient and effective in their job, so that they can do more, right? In that 8-hour period where they're not doing all the, let's say, the crap work so much. Like, imagine, like, one company we helped, they were spending 6 hours on creating proposals, right? We got it down to 5 minutes.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And when you talk about revenue generating, are you talking about that last example where someone's sending 2,000 emails to?
That's a piece. Yeah. So that's one thing that could be done. But you can create, an agent that does most of your business development, right? Like, where, depending on what platforms you're on and what you're doing in terms of your marketing, also better analysis of your marketing. Like, why are customers leaving? Why are customers buying? When are they buying? It's really good at predictions. So you using AI, you'll be able to be, okay, we need to, discount this at this point at this time, because this person just ran out of toilet paper and he needs more.
So if you're a business owner and you're starting out, you've agentified or agentify, is that, yeah, your business, I'm assuming, where you have less staff to do a lot of your admin.
Yeah, yeah, like I live it, right? So anytime there's a process, I'm trying to AIfy it, right? Like there are some things that I'm still working on, like just like any others, but genuinely I'm looking for solutions um, to use within my own company, and even better, like I play around with every tool I can get my hand on, so that I can properly bring it to others and say this works. It's the good return on investment here, and it will save you a lot of time and money, right? Like so, so I definitely, I'd be hypocritical if I wasn't using these tools, right?
And what would be your playbook of like, okay, I don't have, let's take for example myself, I don't have the level of experience you have. I have a process that I don't want to do, or I know I can automate
Yep.
or AI it.
Hmm.
Is my first process. So I have the pain,
Yep.
I have the problem,
Yep.
go on one of these algorithms and see if there's a tool that can automate that one, that problem, and then start playing around with it at a high level.
You could like that, that's just normal research in a sense, right? So I would say, like, if you're a small business and you don't have a lot of resources, that's a good approach. Where what you could do is, and first, and I think you hit it on the head when you focus first on the problem. People sometimes don't, right? So, problem first, then once you have the problem, then you go find the hammer to solve the problem, right? Like, so problem, you can go to any of your large language models, give it some context. So write a prompt, or even a better universal prompt, where it's a better prompt, and use that prompt to, narrow it down to 3 tools, right? Because, and then experiment with those tools if you have the time, right? Like, if you don't have the time, um, there's no point. Like, if you just don't have time, that's the problem. Right? With a small business owner, you're just going to have to find the time to do some research and kind of, adopt some of these tools. If you're like, I get approached by a lot of different sized businesses, and if you're like less than 5 people, less than $1 million in revenue, I tell them about tools, right? Like, some of the tools that I recommend and I think are great. I think Gamma.app, great for presentations, proposals, social media. Really good. They just hit unicorn status. Technically you can do it in Gemini and Chat GPT as well, what they're doing, but they do it better. Like, it's just a much better, uh, you know, graphically visual document. And then, they have an AI agent built within, that makes it super easy to adapt, and change. Like, these tools that I recommend, um, I focus on simplicity. Like, the tools that win in AI are the ones that are so easy to use that anyone can use it. Like, just write that prompt or write what you want and it does it, right? We're seeing that with some of the vibe coding tools now, but the vibe coding tools, you still, in my opinion, you still need to have somebody that will take it over the edge. And sometimes what's created isn't necessarily super scalable, and so which causes some issues. But for a minimal viable product, it's awesome. Like, if you're like, I have this idea, and then it's done. Like, it's awesome, right? Um, Now, once again, it's taking it and going to market is a completely different game and a different beast. But the ability to generate, you know, enough, especially for a startup perspective, it's there. Sorry, I'm all over the place here.
No, I like that because, so switching gears a little
Sure.
bit. Well, first of all, Gamma's one tool.
Yeah.
Could you give us a couple other tools that you recommend?
So on the vibe coding side, there's Base 44, there's Lovable, Bolt, Mocha. Um, I have a list, like, but those are the ones that come to mind probably for on the vibe coding. And that's, anyone can use, right? Like, it's not, you don't need to be a coder to use these tools at all. Gamma, I use proposals, presentations, and I think it's very, very good. Large language model would be the first one, like of everything. If someone said, hey, I need to have one tool, what would it be? I'd be like, well, pick, depending upon what type of business, it could be ChatGPT, Gemini's, Claude, Perplexity, Copilot, but Copilot is my least favorite, to be honest. So you have 5 to choose from. Some you might already have Microsoft Suite, and you might have Google, so it might just be the easiest choice for you, right? So number 1, start with that. But once again, start with the problems. Like, what are you doing? What are you using these for, right? Like, I think overall general usage, large language models would pay for themselves, right? Like if you're paying like $50 for a large language model, or 20, $30, I think is for pro, if you're using the tool properly, you're getting more than enough value out of that $30 per month. Right?
Absolutely.
So then Gamma, I think is $40 per month.
How about if you're a small business owner? Like,
I still think the same thing.
Is there anything specific that you would recommend? There's a proposal, but a chat, an agent. Is there a specific?
For a small business owner, I'd say that I don't necessarily. I think agents will come and be embedded. Like, so for example, ChatGPT is going to make it super easy to make agents. Google's already making it super easy for agents, right? So some of the smaller steps where, for example, let's say you create an outline for a presentation, because this is common, outline for a presentation, and you're going to then use it for Gamma, right? Like there's APIs now that allow you that transfer of information. And it's relatively easy. I would say super simple yet, but if you have a little bit of technical ability, it's easy to connect those two together. My grandmother probably couldn't do it, right. but anyone that was maybe born in, I don't know. I don't know. Like I could do it. So, and I don't consider myself I'm not a coder. I'm not super technical. So, but if I can do it, I assume a lot of other people can. The same, I'm the average here. So I think that, and then building these connections out of your large language model would make sense. So they have connectors for now. Most of them connect to HubSpot. So if you use HubSpot or Salesforce, easy connectors, right? So these large language models, in my opinion, they're going to have more and more connectors because they want to be the brain, right? They want you hooked in so that you can't leave them.
Right.
So does that answer the question?
Yeah, that answers the question for sure. So I was at SaaS North, so Software as a Service, 2 weeks ago. It was hosted in Ottawa. I think there was over 2,000 businesses, AI firms. Were you there?
No. Like I tend to avoid, like I only go to I don't go to a lot of conferences anymore.
So one of the main messages was SaaS was dead. Software as a Service was dead. And they're rebranding it to Result as a Service, which makes a lot of sense to me. And a lot of the panel guests were talking about how when you're building an AI product or AI first product, make sure that the problem you're solving is 95% completed before you submit it to a client or before you try to sell it. Because if it's less than 95%, they'll just do it and they won't see the benefit of it. And therefore, because there's a lot of AI buzz around the market, and there's the big guys that are just, you see how much they're spending on the models and how, what's going into it and the buzz, but you hear Base 44 selling for X amount of millions in 6 months with 6 employees and vibe coding. But you also don't hear that small business that converted all their clients to an AI first company that is making headways without spending $20 million on it. And one of the biggest reflections on that conference was the fact that if your problem, and when we talk about the small problems to the big problem, my recommendation too, after hearing these guys, is start small, nail down those problems, get your feet comfortable before you move on to a bigger problem. And when we talk about software as a service, you think of QuickBooks Online. And this is actually an example that I posted on TikTok and actually went semi-viral on, was you go on to QuickBooks Online, it's a software as a service,
Mhm.
but not everyone can go on unless you're an accountant or have deep knowledge of accounting to do your bookkeeping, accounting, and then eventually tax.
Mhm.
Where if you create an AI model to do one specific thing to help the business owner out, that's where you'll get the results from it.
Mhm.
Do you agree with that?
Oh yeah, I do. Like I think, if I was to jump forward into the future, I agree that SaaS is probably dead. I think that what I th- and I'm guessing if Google's listening, I think Google's going to be doing this. I think Google is going to allow you to create your own um, software as a service within their platform. So let's say you're an accountant or somebody, and you're just like, okay, oh, we need this. Like this is going to be helpful for us internally. They're going to be agents that will allow you to create, like, solve these problems, that these small problems that you're talking about within their system. So you will never have to leave their system, right? So G Suite, Google Workspace, right? Where they're going to keep you in that system because you can easily create every application you need for your business within that system. You won't need, like, so on the other side of it too is like that, maybe that's farther down the road, but all you have to do is imagine vibe coding within uh, a platform or a system that you're already tied into. So,
Well,
so you see what I'm
wouldn't
talking about?
wouldn't that kill small businesses?
Yeah, it would. So don't be listening, Google.
Yeah,
But it'd
because
kill a lot
then
of software companies. It would kill a lot of SaaS businesses. I always see it like there's a note taking firm that's auto based. I love, and I think they're doing great. Um, and I think but I already see,
well, tons of them now,
yeah, but now Google has their own.
right?
Microsoft has their own
Right.
that's built into Teams and built, like, so the ecosystem, I think ecosystems are going to win. And that's not good for small business per se, right? But that's where you got to be more, probably more creative, more inventive. Like, I don't know. I don't know the answers to all the questions, right? But I do know that that's what I see coming.
It makes complete sense
I think so.
because even Zoom was like the big thing, and
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they might be a little better than Google Meets, but it's another subscription, another plugin,
I
another.
used to use Zoom 100% of the time. Now I don't use Zoom. I use Google. As soon as I signed up and as soon as I started using Google Enterprise, there's no need to have another fee, right? And they do it just as well, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, and so, anyways, it's the ecosystem. So, which is like good for Google, maybe not good for smaller startups and companies that, but once again, you got to pick the right problems, right? You got to make sure that the problem you're fixing isn't going to be, you know, chat GDP releasing it next week and wiping it out, because that's happening. Like a lot of these companies are that, like, I believe last I checked, it was like 400,000 plus AI companies. And when I say AI companies, a lot of those are just using Gemini, Chat GDP as wrappers, right? They built something over top of it where they have a couple prompts that make it a little bit better, right? I think you were going to see, because we don't know what these larger companies are coming out with. And so that's the danger. That's the danger for rogue ventures. That's the danger for small businesses that are kind of starting. Like,
So
what are they?
when you're looking at a venture business to come into your studio, are you looking for an ecosystem? Like, what main risks are you looking for that, because they're obviously coming in with a problem
Yep.
that
Right.
you can solve with AI
Well, every
potentially, right?
yeah, in my opinion.
And
So,
that you could apply
yep.
to,
Yep.
right? And you have the expertise and the knowledge and all that, so you can execute it.
Yes.
But in business, we always look at the SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunity, threats. The threats right now are huge external threats that, Google's enterprise can wipe you out, or ChatGPT's, next version can wipe out the 400,000 AI firms
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
200,000 AI firms.
So you either build to be part of the system, right? Like, so or you have to think ahead and be able to do something better better than them, which is hard, right? So which will be very hard. So I, me and my partners, we like ecosystems and looking at the ecosystem to see what is missing from that ecosystem and what we could do to uh, join or be a part of that ecosystem, right? Like
And
that's a part of it, right? But with no matter what assessment you have,
yeah.
right? I believe there's luck, timing, and effort, right? And execution, right? There's a whole bunch of factors that are variables, right? So you start down a road, just like with any entrepreneur, and you have to be flexible, reply to feedback, and pivot if necessary, right? Like that's how companies, like, in the shop floor in Ottawa, right? It was a snowboard store. He created a
Yeah.
snowboard store, and now look at Shopify. Like, it's
And
his
don't
ability
you
to
think they
adopt.
can get eaten up by ChatGPT?
What's that? Sorry.
Don't you think they can get eaten up by?
That's a, I haven't, like, do I think if I, once again, my crystal ball now, I think that you can probably in the future have business in a box where you just tell it the idea and bam. Now there's going to be pieces there that are going to,
Be nuanced.
be a little bit more complicated, but we're already seeing like Lovable has joined
Yeah.
up with Shopify, right?
Okay.
So you can now just easily prompt and have a store created in seconds that is decent. Like you still have to, in my mind, still take it that 20% to the finish line. There's that finish line component, but generally, like, I remember when people used to pay $80,000 for a website, a professional website, like when I was growing up, right? Like when in my 20s. I remember when I was actually in oil and gas, I was in Calgary for a period, and yeah, like revamps and such for websites were 60 grand and more, right? That's unheard of now, right? And we're going to just see the same thing where it's like instant. Like, so you want to create a website, you have an idea, give it some context, maybe build a nice 1-2 page prompt, puts in, and then bam, it's even better than you thought it was going to be, right? And then 10%, 20%, take it over the edge, right? Like it's crazy. Like now, not everyone's going to use these tools, and not
Yeah.
everyone. So
But if they make it easier in the ecosystem, I could see the adoption skyrocket faster and faster because it's all there.
yeah, business in a box is not something that that's an idea that is being played around in our venture studio where we're thinking about, well, how do we how do we put Shopify, how do we put pressure on Shopify, right? Like if I was Shopify standing from the outside, what would we have to do to put Shopify out of business,
Right.
right? Like that's the approach we
And
look
I
at.
think the exciting part of that is the conversations now. In 10 years, you probably won't even be able to have those conversations because there'll be a lot of people competing already with it. And then going back to our first question is, are we in the golden age of AI? I mean, if you have an idea and you have guts,
Brave, yeah.
brave, go do it and see what comes from it. Do you need a lot of money to start?
No, like that's another thing, right? Like what's a lot of money, right? Like could you start a business and with like an e-com, like $1,000 would easily get you up and running, right? Like I remember even from incorporating, the cost of incorporating has come down, right? Like everything is coming down. Doesn't mean more people start businesses though, right? Like it's, once again, I think will, knowledge, there's a lot of things that it takes an individual dreaming, be able to handle uncertainty. Like there's a lot of risk with entrepreneurship that I don't think is generally um, built into people per se. It's not like we teach it and we don't teach these skills well, right?
And
Except for my program.
And I think we talked about this in our first conversation about risk of entrepreneurship. 10 years ago or 5 years ago, the risk of entrepreneurship, it wouldn't cost you $1,000 to build an e-commerce store. It'd cost you $50,000.
Yeah.
And 30 years ago, even just a website would cost $80,000.
Yeah.
So now the barrier of entry is a lot easier
Yeah.
financially, and the risk is going down. like the students that you teach, is their mindset to go into entrepreneurship?
Everybody, when I orientation, I say, who here wants to start a business? 95% raise their hand, right? But they have no idea what that means. And then they go through the program, and then they start, okay, this is much more than just be like, everyone wants to be, a billionaire, right? But it's the students that I think that are, and there's a lot of them in my program, that are brave, that are curious. Those are the ones that I'm like, when I think about, I'm like, okay, well, where they're going to be in 10, 15 years, it would be exciting to see, right? Um,
So it's a personality trait versus
that's a good one. Like can you, because if I could go back in time, I consider myself pretty entrepreneurial now. And I've always been within companies, but I kind of only hit really my entrepreneurial stride in the last couple of years. Um, so yeah, I think if you're lucky enough to be raised by an entrepreneur, I think I see those students a lot where their parents are entrepreneurs and it's in their blood now because that's all they know, right? I think there's people that are searching for better lives, right? And they see entrepreneurship as that. I see, people in that just have dreams, right? And I think entrepreneurship or business ownership is like one of the greatest things you could do in your life, right? Because like it's risky, but life is full of risk. Take a risk, right? I remember I used to have many careers, but I used to be a wealth advisor. And I remember I had a client that worked for the government. And I got to know him very well, and he was a great person. But he said that when he joined the government, his dreams died because he then got the golden handcuffs and he stayed for a long time until retirement, and he never lived his dream. And I said, it's not too late. I said to him, I said, you're still alive. You can still do it. But he was like, no, he doesn't have the energy anymore because he was in the retirement phase. And he was like, no, and that to me was one of the saddest things I ever heard. Right. So for me, I have the privilege of working with students that want to start something. So I'm surrounded by energy. I'm surrounded by dreams. I'm surrounded by people that hope and believe. And I love that. Like,
yeah,
and that's why I love entrepreneurship,
yeah,
because those people, right? Like, and sure, you likely are going to fail, but there's beauty in that. Like you've tried, right? Like, and the expression is 1 out of 10 businesses is successful. So I always say start 10 businesses, right? Like then you get one, and all you need is one sometimes.
And how is love that. I mean, resonates with
Yeah,
me.
I know.
I mean, I've gotten all I owe entrepreneurship. A little backstory about me. I ran for 10 years my accounting company, sold it in 2022, sold another division in 2024. I'm that 1%,
Yeah.
which, I scream to the sky. I'm like, if I can do it. I mean, there's a lot of execution, there's a lot of sleepless nights, there's a lot of everything that you have to go through, but you could work, even if you put the level of effort that I did into someone else's business or the government or whatever, you still would not be able to get the result in entrepreneurship. Um, from a financial freedom perspective, a time management perspective, growth perspective.
Hmm.
Switching gears a little bit, um, AI in Canada versus AI in other nations, especially the States. Like, are we, what you're doing now and what you're seeing is a slow adoption, I'm assuming.
Hmm.
Do you have any reflection on what
Oh
other
yeah,
people are doing?
it hurts. You know, uh, it's not just with AI; it's also with entrepreneurship, right? Like the Americans just have a culture that you know uh, emboldens, right? Like, so yeah, the US is probably doing all those things, entrepreneurship and AI better than us, right? Like we're a small country. They're bigger, they got more resources. Um, we were great on the research side. U of T, like some of the research that they did in the at U of T over the years is like the foundation for a lot of the AI that we see now. right? Like, so like the grandfathers of like Hilton and I always mess. There's a guy from
Yeah.
Montreal, but
Yeah, I saw him on a
Vincio. I
yeah
always mess up his name,
podcast.
but yeah, there's a lot of Canadian, like they call them the grandfathers
Yeah.
of AI, right? Like it, and so we have amazing research, and I think Carney and the Liberal government right now, not talking about politics, but I like what they're doing in regards to trying to build the infrastructure and supporting, and now they're recognizing AI is super important. But we'll see what happens. Like we'll see. Like government needs to get involved, and and otherwise, all good businesses will leave Canada. Like
Yeah, and that's my second question. Let's say a company comes to you with the venture,
mm,
you build this ecosystem. Is your strategy to stay in Canada?
yeah,
Or okay.
that's the problem that we're solving or trying to solve is to keep talent in Canada, keep the business in Canada, and show that it can be grown into Canada. Now, it doesn't mean that we don't have partners and not going to partner globally, um, and potentially partners in the States, but the goal is to keep in Canada.
Because that was one of another big conversations at SAS North. It was like there was no, I don't want to say a pep rally, like keep Canada
Yeah.
firms in Canada.
Yeah.
But then the caveat to that was, okay, well, if these firms get real traction, the money is in the States,
Mm-hmm.
not in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And the government needs to solve that problem.
Yes.
Because you have companies like Slack who were originated in Vancouver, got investments in the States, and now are a multi-billion-dollar company, and all the generated money is in the States.
Yep.
Where if there is traction in Canada, people are just gone.
Yeah. Yep. Even it doesn't even need to be the large companies. Like there, some startups just go to the States and incorporate there and start in Delaware, right? Like it's like, so that's a problem. The government needs to build processes and systems in place that reduce red tape and provide, support, and some of that might be economic support, like financial support to these companies, right? Like,
And when you talk about data,
Mhm.
are you familiarized like staying in Canada versus if you do partner with someone? Do you know anything about the
Yeah,
logistics
like,
of
in
it?
terms of data, like regulation that in Europe is better. Canada needs to develop better policies and regulations around data staying in Canada. But you know, the goal for Rogue Ventures, anyways, is to stay in Canada. Data stay in Canada. Most things stay in Canada. Like we got to build the country. Like entrepreneurs are the builders, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I think it and also like another aside is that my program, the government reduced the amount of international students that could come into my entrepreneurship program. Big mistake, if you ask me, because if you think about the 95% of businesses that are small medium enterprises, a large percentage of those are owned by new Canadians, right? Because new Canadians are motivated, right? They see opportunity. They're like, I'm going to make something out of nothing here because it's better here than there, right? And I think we're making a mistake by there's other programs that sure it would make sense not to have visas, but reducing the student visas for business programs and entrepreneurship programs, I think was a mistake.
Do you see a reduced in
Oh, we got my program was cut in half. We're still a very large program and one of the strongest at the college.
And what's the program called?
Business Management and Entrepreneurship.
Okay.
I think we are the biggest, largest business program at Algonquin College. We're just in McLean's as being one of the top programs for the college. And we got cut in half because of the visa.
Right.
And so, entrepreneurship, why? Like, I disagree, right? Like, obviously, I'm going to disagree. I think we need to bring in entrepreneurial people from other countries. Like, those are the people that have the ideas. Those are the people that are going to work and like work that 8-hour week to make something happen.
So switching gears to the lightning round.
Okay. Oh, geez.
Where
we weren't in it yet. Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna go through a lot of questions and it's more like one word, one sentences because
Okay.
this is great for users that want to get started and
Sure.
you know. First AI tool you opened in the morning.
Gemini.
AI tool you use the most in your business right now.
Gemini.
One thing AI already does better than you.
Presentations. Creating presentations, not giving them.
One thing you would never trust an AI to do.
Access to really personal data and bank information.
Percentage of your weekly work that is touched by AI in some way.
100%.
If all AI tools shut off tomorrow, what breaks first in your business?
Everything at this point. Everything. Well, I don't know. I say 90% of things, but most things will be stopped.
Your go-to prompt you use the most.
Well, I use the universal prompt enhancer. So basically, if I'm prompting something, I then create a GPT or a gem or an agent for. So if I'm constantly doing it, I just automate it.
Are you more of a short prompt or essay prompt person?
I'm a short prompt, but I've built a system that makes a large prompt.
Longest prompt you've ever written?
Probably 2-3 pages. No, I didn't write it, but somebody did.
Do you name your AI agent or keep them generic?
I name them.
What's the name?
Depends. I have Rev. I have UPI. I have Cipher. I often use Marvel superheroes to name my
nice
GPTs and stuff.
Overrated AI use case right now.
A lot of AI slop, right? And when I say slop, that's the blogs. You still need to put yourself into those. Like if you don't, our brains are trained to recognize patterns, and we will recognize slop. I think you already recognize slop. You know when something is written by a person and when you don't, I think.
Would you rather hire one rockstar employee or set up 3 great AI systems?
I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I would do both because I think that's where you're going to get I would do both, but if resource constrained, I would do the agents.
One AI hot take you believe that most people would disagree with.
I think AI will take jobs.
One AI feature you wish existed today.
Not going to say because we're working on those things in Rogue Ventures.
Okay. If you could invest early in one AI company right now, who would it be?
Oh, invest in one AI company? I think any company. I'm not going to name specifics, but I think companies that are in verticals such as defense in Canada, I think that's a good spot. I think healthcare is a good spot, and I think education is a good spot.
That's great. Jobs you think AI will completely transform in the next 5 years?
All of them. When I say completely, either not take over per se, all of them, but you're going to be using it as a co-pilot or as an assistant in almost everything.
Job you think AI will never fully replace?
I would say plumbing, HVAC, but until there's robots that actually do it, right? But the robots are, I think, going to have energy system issues as well as fine detail, like getting their hands in and turning small things. I think that's going to be an issue for the robots that I see now.
One AI rule or boundary you follow in your own business? Any boundaries around AI?
For myself, I only use AI for business and for and some personal usage, but I say I'm probably 90% using it for business purposes and then 10% to help me with other things. So I created a Brazilian jiu-jitsu coach. So, so I can ask Brazilian jiu-jitsu questions too. But generally, I think when it comes to adults, I think it's very different than coming to children, and I have a different view in regards to AI and children.
Biggest ethical concern you have around AI?
Well, I just kind of hit on it. You know, with every new technology, there needs to be constraints and boundaries, especially with usage amongst youth, in my opinion. They need to either be educated or trained on it, and sometimes it's not great for them to have it until a certain age. So I think how we educate and teach people how to use it is going to be very, very important. Um, I also think ethically, who created these models, there's inherent biases. So you have to be wary of those biases. Now, some of those biases may benefit you, and some of those biases may not benefit others, right? So being conscious of what those biases are. Also, ethical use. I think that there needs to be, not a human rights approach to it, but also, you know, because there's bad agents, right? Like you could create bad agents to do bad things. And so I think that you need to consider that. I think on the defense side, I think in military, there's applications that are worrisome to me where, facial recognition. What if I look like somebody that the US, like the military wants to target for assassination, and then you send out a drone and I look just exactly like that person? Like there's issues, right? Like I'm kind of creating
Yeah.
maybe fairy tales here in a sense. Although I remember it was a couple years ago, I saw on YouTube a video of these mini drones with mini explosives that were like, it was a video, it wasn't real, at least that, where they were targeting and assassinating people. So it would lock onto their face, little drone with a little bit of explosive, and then you can just imagine swarmed by them, right?
Wow.
It's possible. The technology is there to do it.
If you could have a personal AI trained only on one person's brain, who would it be?
Oh, geez. I'd probably on one person's brain, my partner, my wife. um, um, and I'd probably like destroy the AI because my wife is a complicated person, and I don't think there's any AI like that'd be fascinating because then I could pick and pull at that brain because uh, you know I think in relationships it's yeah, my partner. I'd be fascinated to be able to just at any point know what she's thinking.
Right. And we have a closing tradition question where if you could leave a sticky note on your first laptop before even before starting any business, what would it say? So if you,
Oh, that's easy. I'd say be kind, be brave.
thank you so much for taking time out of your day
This
to
was
talk
awesome.
AI. I hope you had fun.
I
I hope
did.
you get geeked out on
It
everything.
was great. Thank you so much for having me.
Where can people find you?
So I'm the only social media network I'm on is LinkedIn. So if you want to find me on LinkedIn, it's Chris W. Dore, Dore, on LinkedIn. You can also find me at my email at chris@scarlettnova.com. And there's two T's in Scarlett. And those would be the best avenues to reach out to me.
Perfect. Thanks, Chris.
No, awesome. Thank you for having me.
Share this with a friend so that they could be a part of this journey too. Keep watching for more.